Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com and our deck list comes to us from Something Snazzy who wanted me to play with Clerics. Now recently there has been a new cycle of 2-mana lords that give a +1/+1 to their respective creature type and then have some other ability. We've seen the Horde Master, Runvault Horde Master, seeing some play in Goblins. I believe it's Leaf Crowned Visionary is the green one that has seen some play in Elves. I played the Veteran one in Soldiers, and now we're going to get around to the Cleric one, which is something that I never really thought we were going to do on this channel. But as it would so happen, a certain Cleric, and I'm not going to point any fingers or name any names, a certain Cleric might be trying to break Legacy right now. And another one of the Cleric's friends maybe is actually one of the best Cleric tribal cards of all time. And Seasoned Dungeoneer can give an attacking Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, or Wizard protection from creatures until end of turn and have it explore. And if our deck is just absolutely full of Clerics, well, you can kind of see where this is going, right? It essentially makes our creatures unblockable and helps to scale them up. And honestly, the Cleric creature type has gotten a lot of love recently from cards like Anointed Peacekeeper. So we're going to kind of go back throughout Magic's history and try to find a bunch of the strongest Clerics around, cards that maybe don't see a lot of play in Legacy, generally speaking, so we can lean into these various creature type synergies. Now, let's take a look at this activated ability here. For 5 mana, we can sacrifice another Cleric, and search our library for a black creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. So there's a copy of Archon of Cruelty, as well as Griselbrand in this deck list, and I snuck a sneaky little Progenitus into the sideboard, because that's a black creature too. And we can cheat those cards into play as kind of our way to end the game. And this gives us some flyers, which while we do have some in this deck list, is something that we are going to be relatively light on in terms of things that are going to line up really, really well against, say, a 3/3 Dragon Rage Channeler. We don't have something like Endurance with a really big butt that can just block that forever. At least not innately. Now, the secondary effect of having a couple of big dumb creatures in the deck list is that if we do complete the Undercity, we can potentially floop one of those into play. That's not something that I really want to rely on, but it's definitely something that can happen. In terms of the mana base here, this is going to look pretty similar to the white-black initiative deck list that I played a couple of weeks back. As far as the sideboard goes, we are going to try to stay relatively heavy on Clerics, so we're going to play some cards that are maybe slightly suboptimal in terms of power level, but for being the correct creature type, they're going to get paid out in other ways. We'll kind of see how that works out. I am playing Surgical Extraction in this deck list over Leyline of the Void. I'm not really sure if that's correct, but when I'm not playing something like Thalia that is going to tax my own Surgical, I think I'm actually going to get kind of a sneaky advantage for playing Surgical against graveyard decks, because my opponents are going to expect me to be playing the Leyline, and so they're going to board in their things like their Serenities that answer those, and hopefully I can get them with Surgical. Leyline might just be a better card in a vacuum. I'm not entirely sure here, but it's something that the donor had in the original deck list, so I'm gonna try that out and see how it actually fares. With that being said, I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump directly into the league. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And honestly, if you've been sticking around and you're not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Trying to get my analytics up for to be announced reasons, and that would help me out a lot, as would throwing a like on the video. That's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Alright, I am on the play here. I have a turn 2 uncounterable White Plume Adventurer, and then I can make it even larger than normal. This is absolutely going to be a keep. This is effectively a 6-card hand since, Griselbrand is around, but I think we just kind of deal with that. I do have to expose my Ancient Tomb to a Wasteland here. If I want to attempt to play turn 2 White Plume Adventurer, which is a little bit awkward, but you can't always have a Lotus Petal or Chrome Mox in your opener. Oh, this is a wasteland deck. Starting Bojuka Bog. Wee. Schadenport is going to tap down my Ancient Tomb, and we're going to kind of be going into slow mode here. I think I am going to fix... Well, I would want to imprint that. No, I have this Griselbrand that I could probably imprint in most scenarios. All right, let's get this out of the way then. Now, next turn, I can play a Shadowrite Priest to, like, start having something in play, but, like, Wasteland plus Life from the Loam is going to very handily beat me. All right, buckle up, folks. We're going to do nothing for about the next 4 turns. And I probably will have to concede if my opponent finds Life from the Loam. Generally speaking, initiative decks are very favored versus lands, though, so, like, this game is very much not over. My opponent just happened to have a very good counter to where I was starting out. If I keep hitting land drops and my opponent doesn't find more mana denial, like, I am okay. I don't have too many basics here. Could actually do a quick count of that. Yeah, I have 3 basics. Okay, cool. I'm not getting wastelanded in this turn cycle. That means I can put my first creature into play. Oh, alright, opponent is doing something second main phase. Okay, opponent has blue. Probably means Uro or Treasure Hunt. Alright, that is okay. I think I actually shock myself, right? Nah, I don't necessarily have to do that. Oh, maybe I do need to do that. I want to have true white mana available on my next turn, just in case. Alright, got an uncounterable 2/2. The hope is that next turn I can play the White Plume Adventurer. And if the initiative starts ticking up, I feel pretty confident that I will win this game. But it's kind of a big if. I mean, Urza Saga is very good here, but it will... No, it won't actually turn my opponent's mana into direction, because assuming they make one more land drop, they can activate and still port me down. Oh, no. So, recurring Wasteland is very bad for me here. I am going to get to... Yeah. Hope my opponent doesn't randomly have Stifle. Not that this deck normally plays Stifle, but the initiative is a really bad matchup. It wouldn't surprise me if my opponent adapted to that. Alright. Grub. No, not you. You. Technically should attack first. Bill, how did you get so handsome and smart? I know. Everyone asks in the comments all the time. And the answer is, every time that my opponent savagely dishonors me by having the one thing that absolutely wrecks me, I get a little more pretty. Untap that priest. More generally, like, giving you an honest answer to that question. Like, my opponent intentionally played out a Mox Diamond at a weird time, and they passed a turn relatively early on in the game with... how do I say this? With mana up in sort of a strange way. So, like, I got the vibe from very early on that my opponent might actually have Stifle. Okay, so if I attack here, my opponent has a 3/3, so, like, my attack is totally fine. Can't attack with this, though. I'm probably never going to get to activate the ability for 5 to get an Archon, but we'll see. Go ahead. Crash in with a White Plume. Drop my opponent to 13. I think I play the Swamp here over the Scrub. And let's try to actually take the initiative now. Oh, come on! Come on! I mean, the good news there is that my opponent doesn't get an immediate Urza Saga token. Untap White Plume. We're a weird aggro deck right now. Alright, are you tokening up? I imagine the answer is yes. This is potentially an Expedition map? Yep. And we can be looking at a Maze of Ith here. We could be looking at a Tabernacle here. Alright, we're just going with Life from the Loam. I'm going to get Wastelanded again. Imagine going after the true white source is correct. Yep. Okay. I'm going to actually get to take the initiative here. I have some really neat Anointed Peacekeeper lines, but I think just slamming Seasoned Dungeoneer is better. Not a Cleric. Alright, we've got initiative. To grab a basic Plains, I think I don't trade here. I think I just try to safely attack with one creature and explore. That can go into my graveyard. This puts my opponent to 8, which potentially puts them in a situation where they have to go search for a Glacial Chasm, and they won't be able to keep that around for a particularly long time, because I am about, well, maybe not about to, but I'm going to trap them. Not eating Life from the Lone Wasteland this turn. A single White Plume Adventurer attack is maybe lethal next turn as well. Okay. I'm very happy that we won this game, because the first few turns were not looking good. I got slowed down a lot, and I got stifled off the initiative multiple times. I don't think this game was over, but maybe, like, my opponent had to find room for the stifles and such somehow, and maybe they don't have some of the things that I might expect them to have in Game 1 scenarios. As far as sideboarding goes, Griselbrand's not going to be great versus a Karakas deck, so I think I'm going to sub Progenitus into that spot. In theory, Swords is okay versus, like, Uro, Urza Saga tokens, and Merit Lodge. Remorseful Cleric and Relic Warder are unexciting, but probably playable. Aethersworn Canonist is not exciting. That's going to become the other copies of Remorseful Cleric. Elite Spellbinder is maybe not at its best here. Like, I don't hate flyers, but I think this is just gonna go. In terms of deck building here, I didn't talk about this in the deck tech, but I really considered playing Giver of Runes over Mother of Runes, because, like, Giver is a Cleric, and relevantly, it could protect from Maze of Ith in this matchup. I think I do play Relic Warder. I'm unsure about how exactly to get Swords to Plowshares in here. Shadowrite Priest is the low-hanging fruit. Like, it's the worst card in my deck right now. If I do that, I need to cut 6. I also need to cut these. So that would look like this. And then I play 2 Surgicals or 2 Elite Spellbinders. I think I'll play 2 Surgicals. This still leaves my creature count at 26, which I think is acceptable. This doesn't feel like a keep to me. This is not going to go fast enough to get under my opponent's deck, and it's not particularly aggressive. How do I feel about this on 6? Not great, but it's probably acceptable as a keep. Ugh. That's what I didn't want to see. Well, I guess now I know it's coming. So that's a thing. I just want to get Wastelanded now. I could just get Wastelanded now to play out Mother of Runes, and then I either get an active Mother of Runes or my opponent Wastelands me. It's acceptable to me. I am going to try to get, air quotes, a bad land Wastelanded. I probably don't care about counterspells from my opponent's deck here. So I would rather use this for the wrong... Hello? Oh. First of all, how dare you? Oh, to have a soul land. Oh, to have a soul land. Okay. So you remember what I said about active Mom? F that. Mom is now a 1/1 attacker. This game is gonna be weird. I have only 2 more basics in my deck, so a couple of my lands are pretty likely to get obliterated. Yeah. Alright. Again, Mom, 100%, 100% on attacking duty now. Yeah. Alright. Tapped land, and we rumble. This is why I kept all of my lands in my opening hand, by the way, instead of keeping the Swords to Plowshares. Okay, sure. My opponent's very unlikely to be able to do much more than deny me mana, but they're probably better off in this position than I am, despite the fact that, like, I do have the threat in play. Yep. Okay, this is good, but drawing the basic swamp here is awkward. This means that my opponent is much more likely to port me off the Caracas next turn, meaning that I can't just deploy this Ancient Tomb and do my thing. Oh my god. Yup! Oh. Welcome to Legacy, folks. Buckle up. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Fuck. Here, so good. Alright. Ancient Tomb. I will absolutely pay the life to put this into play. I'll be throwing one of these Seasoned Dungeoneers under it, and then hopefully we can spike a land next turn to get somewhere profitable. I now have a white source that my opponent can't attack, which is very good news for me. Thing is, if, and this is a big if they happen to naturally draw that 4th Wasteland, I'm in bad shape. Okay, what the fuck? What the fuck? Math nerds. Math nerds. You know what you need to do. Get in the comments. Get in the comments. Talk to me. Tell me how bad that was. Alright? Alright. Seasoned Dungeoneer gets under here. I will attack in with Mother of Runes. We have promoted Mother of Runes to a Lava Axe worth of damage. In your upkeep, Force of Vigor, both your copies of Chrome Box. Alright, my opponent can assemble a Dark Depths Thespian stage kill very quickly here. They are going to continue to port me, though. Alright. I mean, I'll play it. I'll absolutely play it. Crash in with Mom, opponent goes to 14. At any point, they can activate their map and go find the Thespian stage, but doing so right now means giving up the Rishadan port activation, which is probably a big deal. Because if they don't port me, I can play White Plume Adventurer. If they do port me, I need to find a land in order to successfully deploy my White Plume Adventurer. Because this... there's a Ghost Quarter from my opponent. I'm presumably just getting ported off Swamp again. Yup. World is a cruel, cruel place. This was not great for me. So on my next turn here, my opponent can presumably port me while also activating Expedition Map. Unless they have 5 non-land cards in hand, or only have lands that don't actually produce true mana, but they have a trop. I do have lots and lots and lots of outs to this Merit Lodge, though. Like, any one of my flyers or Swords to Plowshares will do it. Yep. You're a turn late. Unfortunately. Can I play you? I don't think I can play you. You actually kind of backfire here very specifically because my opponent has Ghost Quarter. Shoot. I can't play that card here. It's a shame that I can't put Anointed Peacekeeper into play. Opponent goes to 12. And then I already see where this is going. Mom has done some serious work. Uh-huh. I've got like a dozen outs here. Can we get some payback for the whole my opponent drew 4 Wastelands in a row thing? How about it? Nope. We need to show strength here. And we need to just keep attacking. And hope that my opponent lives in fear. And they wait until they have backup to make a Merit Lodge. Unfortunately, my opponent does not play around a removal spell here. And I have to concede. That was statistically unlikely, but it occurred. Alright, when I'm on the play, do I still want Surgical Extraction, or do I just want to play 1 more copy, or rather 2 more copies of Elite Spellbinder as just a thing that can attack? My ideal turn 1 involves Arbiter, White Plume Adventurer, or Seasoned Dungeoneer. Elite Spellbinder on the play can do some neat things, like taking a Life from the Loam out of my opponent's hand and making it cost 4 initially is probably better than Surgicaling a Wasteland. But it's close. I'm going to go ahead and try it this way. Turn 1 White Plume on the play. I am very uncertain what this Chrome Mox is supposed to imprint, though. Like, this is very tough. I think in case I get Wastelanded, I'm going to put Elite Spellbinder under there. Alright, so this is the sort of situation that the Stifles and such don't actually help with. I will just be getting the Plains. I basically have no, or I think literally have no black cards in my deck right now. So now we're going to see kind of the other side of this equation here, where like I do actually have the initiative in play, and my opponent is going to really struggle with dealing with it. It's been a great match. Alright. Have to deal with both Seiju later. Is your best play porting me? It will keep me from doing a very relevant thing. I still have a play for next turn if I get ported. The opponent's pace of play has slowed down significantly, so I think they know that they're in trouble. Alright. They may have another Stifle here. I will just be going for the Forge. They got to dismember or something, they got to dismember, but... Okay, what on earth does it mean that they did not do anything here? Not sure, but I think I play a pre-combat Anointed Peacekeeper to help figure that out. Just kind of helps and lets me know whether or not, like, crop rotation is a thing that I need to be concerned with. Ah, it is Endurance. That's fine. Otawara. Is that what I'm naming? Yeah, because if my opponent draws something, they can, like, bounce and then make favorable attacks in to try to take the initiative. Yeah, I'm probably just naming Otawara. A little surprised my opponent kept their hand on the draw like that. Alright, name Otawara. Crash in. Opponent eats 5 damage. And I play a Mom that lets me dominate combat. My White Plume gets to untap itself. And I will have kind of a very swift clock here. Yeah, you may absolutely play your Sphere. I don't think you're supposed to play that, because it makes you significantly worse at top decking a Tutor to go and get another Dark Depths piece. Yeah, okay. Yeah, GG's. So, talking through my lines this turn, I would have given Pro Green, attacked in for 8, played another White Plume, gone to Archives, drawn a card, untapped like my Mom and my White Plume Adventurer, and like very much had lethal through a Merit Lodge that my opponent could have made there. Great match. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is a deck hosting website, and I'm really a big fan of using these for my EDH decks in particular, because you can use these little blue bubbles to keep track of which cards you do and don't have when you're starting to build your decks. And if you have one, but not that exact art that you have up, it'll be in a gray bubble instead. And this has just been so convenient as I kind of sort through my collection and figure out what I need to purchase for my decks. Alright, round 2, I'm on the draw. I have a very reasonable hand that I am going to keep, but I'm going to keep this with the caveat that, like, it may just be better to mulligan to something that just has a Soul Land or a Lotus Petal or whatever. But I don't just want to play this deck like it is an initiative deck with a handful of bad cards. Like, I want to try to play this deck as designed. And, like, as designed, a curve of Mom into Arbiter into White Plume is totally reasonable. If we're playing against something like... Oh, probably a control deck, actually. Oh. Well. Not being on the play sucks. That's a Cauldron Complete that's going to get into play. But my primary problem here is that this tramples. What's my plan? We're going to trade the initiative back and forth, at least until I can make a 5-5. I want that 5-5 this turn, or do I want to try to stop my opponent from getting more lands by playing Arbiter? I think I need to buckle up for a longer game here. Just the Stoneforge Mystic on the play, on a hand where I didn't have mana acceleration, put me in a bad spot. I was really hoping that my opponent was just going to, like, remove my Mother of Runes. Non-fetch land here is not great for me. Yeah. Alright, I believe here that I can go ahead and just block. I will be preventing the combat damage that my opponent does to this creature, so I don't have to actually worry about the exile clause, as we see, and I just take a little bit of damage. Alright. I think I take 3 to not use Lotus Petal here. I'll go to 14 for that. Uncounterable Cleric. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get my basic land, which is why I want to save this Lotus Petal, because I might need it to play Seasoned Dungeoneer. Alternatively, I can use it this turn to play another Mother of Runes, which actually is pretty reasonable given circumstances here. I will be holding everything back. Oh, sorry, I could have attacked for 2 there. That's 2 missed damage for me. I am very much just kind of... Oh, okay, it's Cephalid Breakfast. That 6th point is actually so relevant right now. Alright, am I letting my opponent take the initiative this turn? I believe so. It's just so much safer for me next turn with double Mother of Runes available. And my opponent basically has to waste their turn if they want to do the whole Leonin Arbiter thing. So now they can search for a basic, and they can also fetch with their Flooded Strand. Yeah, there's the Flooded Strand fetch. For a Tundra. I'm hoping to draw a land here. So I attack with both Arbiter and White Plume. I always take the initiative. I go to Forge. White Plume becomes a 5/5. I untap it. I block with Mom and White Plume, and I hold the initiative. I also can play one more creature. Seems good. I play another Arbiter or just the Elite Spellbinder. Probably the Elite Spellbinder, and I think I actually do that pre-combat. Just kind of give me information about whether or not I'm facing down Swords to Plowshares or whatever. Alright, there's Nomads in Core, Thassa's Oracle, and Daze. Nomads in Core is the same side as Shuko. We will just be taking out the Thassa's Oracle here. So my opponent can play that from exile, but it costs 2 more. Alright, I know that I always take the initiative. I thought for a while and then took the hit for 5. Forge up White Plume. And that's my turn. Untap White Plume with the trigger. This is probably a good time to, remind folks that I did miss 2 points of damage earlier, and that very much could be relevant. Welcome to Things You Do When You're Commentating Your Play That You Don't Do When You're Fully Focused on Your Play. Alright, the Germ token is coming in here. I need to block this with 6 total points of toughness. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that like this. So we target this White Plume first, as I very, very, very much need to protect it. That gets white. Am I fine with getting Elite Spellbinder exiled to 100% play around Swords? I don't really think I need to 100% play around Swords. Oh my god, oh my god. I just punted this game. I'm so upset. And I can't even fix it because I misclicked white. Alright. Oh, my opponent says they ripped the Illusionist this turn anyway. Okay, sure. I feel a little bit less bad. Alright. So, now I'll kind of explain what's going to happen here. My opponent is going to activate either Nomads in Core or Shuko. Okay, they're going to just pass the turn here. I will trap my opponent. Bring them to 7. Oh man, the two points of damage that I missed earlier are relevant because my opponent could be at 5. And then it's pro blue, pro white, ill. F. Not my tightest played game. Arbiter goes under here. Oh no, my opponent has double dazes, and this is dazable. I think I let them daze it though. Returning a land to their hand is upside for me as of right now. Yeah. So my opponent's got the 4 next turn. Yuck. If I attack all out, I'm also just dead to combat. Alright. I punted this game multiple different games. I deserve to lose this one. Okay. How do I want to approach this? Relic Order's good. Relic Order exiling Kaldra is very, very, very good. This game probably goes slow enough that Shadowrite Priest is live, so I don't really want to board that out here. I like some amount of Graveyard Hate. My opponent has Caracas, so I like Progenitus over Griselbrand. So the weird thing here is that, while I can go really hard on hating on the Graveyard, I might lose to my opponent's fair stuff if I do that. So in theory, my opponent only needs to cast one spell on their critical turn. Just Dread Return. I think I'm going these out for these. And I think I go these out for these. I think this boarding configuration is correct on the play. On the draw, I might need to be more conservative. Yes, this is a keep. What is going under Chrome Mox / am I actually using Chrome Mox? If I'm willing to hurt myself a lot, I can just keep everything in hand and never use Chrome Mox, at least for right now. I think turn 1 is always Lotus Petal Cavern Arbiter. That will not leave me the ability to cast a top deck Season Dungeoneer, which is a human, but otherwise should be good. Okay, so Lotus Petal Cavern on Cleric and Cat. Long term, I believe my plan is actually to win this game with Shadowrite Priest. I don't immediately have real double black, but hopefully that doesn't matter too much. Imprint. I imprint for white might not be going towards double black. Despite the fact that I can make... My mind was not prepared to think about turn 1 Arbiter. Or should it be? I don't know. Maybe I'm just the beatdown. Maybe I should ignore the extra text on Shadowrite Priest here and just assume that 2 of those in play will aggro my opponent out handily. Like, this is an attack for 3 next turn, then an attack for 7 the following turn. Opponent's at 17. Yeah. Meow, meow. Alright. While this, in theory, should have been the match win, we're still playing because Bill messed up. How do I want to do this on the draw? Like, on the draw, some amount of extra interaction is probably important. Like, I can play Swords of Plowshares to deal with turn 2 Stoneforge on the play, which is something that otherwise I have basically no real outs to. And it does also interact with some of the other creatures that are in the deck that can be annoying. Am I supposed to cut my Priest package on the draw? Is that how I'm supposed to approach this? That frees up 6 slots. If I cut all these on the draw, that could give me 4 more swords and 2 of some other card. I accept that. Do I want 2 surgicals for the inevitable combo, or do I want a hate bearer like Canonist or Spellbinder? I don't think Spellbinder's incredible on the draw. I think I'm going to play Surgical. It still leaves my creature count at 26, which I think is acceptable. My deck is delivering, though. Like, I'm happy with what's going on here. Did my opponent keep? My opponent kept. My hand is not incredibly aggressive, but my hand doesn't just immediately fold to Urza Saga. Or sorry, not Urza Saga, Stoneforge Mystic. So I think I keep this on the draw, because I'm very, very afraid of early Stoneforge Mystic. Yes, this is fine. I mean, yeah, this is dazeable, but if my opponent dazes, they aren't, or they're not playing Stoneforge Mystic this turn. There's also no guarantee that my opponent still has daze in their deck for this game. Why is my opponent pausing an attack? I'm blocking if you come in, because I can't think of anything reasonable that my opponent could be playing that changes combat math here. Nomad's in core can be really tricky once other creatures are on the battlefield, but doesn't have any extra power and toughness. If I block it, ninjutsu isn't a thing. Yeah. So, daze is a thing. Next turn, my opponent could play Illusionist and Shuko combo me in theory. I need to either hold up swords or play Remorseful Cleric. I think I'm going to try and just play the creature. Like, this increases my clock and counts as a hate card. And, like, it's easier to hold up Swords to Plowshares on future turns. The Swords to Plowshares, holding up swords could play around days this turn, but, like, if I was going to do that, I would really want to play the Mother of Runes to protect my stuff anyway. That is a third land from my opponent. That does not require fetching. Ooh, it's ending on the Arbiter rather than the Cleric. Understood. My read on Stoneforge Mystic may have been correct. Yeah, now that attack is totally fine. I'll go to 19. That's a white plume. Am I ready for that? I don't think I'm ready for that, actually. I'm pretty sure my opponent doesn't have a Daze right now, but I'm relatively sure they do have a Stoneforge Mystic. So I would like to play Mom so that this stupid little friend can't easily just poke me and take the initiative next turn. This is an inefficient use of my mana if my opponent does not have Stoneforge Mystic, but it feels like in Prismatic Ending the Arbor rather than the Cleric that they're telegraphing that they have Stoneforge. This has been on the stack for a while, so my opponent may have a Force of Will. I think their hand is Force of Will, blue card, and Stoneforge Mystic. Has resolved. Alternatively, I guess Swords to Plowshares could be a card in their hand. They're now thinking about Swords to Plowshares Cleric versus Mom. Or they could just be distracted. But I have a pretty good feel for the range of cards over there. It's not like this is just 4 complete mystery cards. Ooh, end of turn Brainstorm. This is fully a mana efficiency thing here. Alright, fetch land is reasonable. Yeah, sure. Another Brainstorm. So they are probably brainstorming so that they can shuffle with Stoneforge Mystic. Alright, there we go. We'll go ahead and let my opponent search. Find Kaldra. Yep. Alright, no attack from my opponent. And, alright, no Force of Will. Relic Warder is cool. I believe this is resolving. Okay, my opponent did end up having a Daze here. That's fine. We draw another land, we've got a Seasoned Dungeoneer to follow it up. We don't have to worry about the Kaldra getting into play right now, and even if it does, I can Relic Order it away with Mom Protection. I think my opponent just F6'd the end of their previous turn, rather than, like, doing proper priority passes. I also wonder if they're having some internet connection problems or something. They're going very slowly. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's their play, like they have decisions to make here or anything. Alright, they've taken 2. They're at 13. Brainstorm's fine. We'd prefer that our opponent doesn't have another Stoneforge Mystic, but we're also, like, I guess trying not to lose to the combo. We should be pretty safe for right now. It goes fine. I can exile that with Relic Order if I feel like that's a thing that I need to do. I don't need to take out this creature. This feels like a trap. We're going to try not to ever tap Mother of Runes now, because it feels like my opponent is trying to get my Remorseful Cleric out of play so that they can combo. I'm at 17. Feel very healthy. I would like to draw a land for Seasoned Dungeoneer, or, like, any creature that I can play. I'd like to hold the Relic Warder. It's just going to be good against things that slip into play that are a problem later. I draw, like, a really bad draw that doesn't allow me to play Seasoned Dungeoneer or otherwise use my mana. I'll consider playing Relic Warder, but that's not the plan here. Opponent very reasonably could have another Daze, but, like, if they have it, they have it. That's totally fine. They are also in very real danger of timing out at the rate that they're playing. Okay. It has resolved. I can just pick up a basic plains here. Already made my land drop right. Yep. And we'll be attacking for 2.5 damage on average. See whether or not we explore. Path nerds in the comments be like, well, actually, it's not quite that on average because there's not an even distribution of lands and other spells on top of your deck right now. Path is neat. I think I am okay. Yeah. GG's. I I wonder if I had the correct read on my opponent's hand, or if their hand was just considerably weaker than I thought it was. World will never know. Okay, this one's an easy mulligan. This one is turn 1 Canonist, which is great against some decks, but not enough versus the vast majority of the format. And I can't do any follow-up play. I think I have better 5-card hands than this. Okay. We're keeping this on 5. One mom goes back. I think I have to keep my initiative creature, and hope the initiative can spiral me into a reasonable game. I think it's possible I'm just supposed to, like, keep the Remorseful Cleric in case my opponent is randomly playing a graveyard-based combo deck, and I steal a win that way. I don't really know that that's correct. Play a Lotus Petal as my leading card here. Brainstorm in response to Lotus Petal. Oh, you think I'm a fast combo deck. Incorrect idea. Planted successfully. Cavern. On Cleric. Other Runes. Next turn we've got Uncounterable Anointed Peacekeeper to kind of buy some time. We're potentially playing against a blue-white control list. Double Tundra, naturally in opening hand, is pretty weird. So this could be Cephalid Breakfast again. Got Daze to worry about. I don't want to worry about Daze or Force of Will. I can just jam this turn, but I think I just need to jam this card here. It feels quite strong to do so. I can just... I don't know this one. Is this the Wizard Cycling? This is the Wizard Cycling one. I can name my opponent's Nomads in core so that they can't ever use that to go infinite. That's probably better than shutting down Aether Vial, like I was intending on doing as of the beginning of this turn. I guess I should leave this up technically. I've already made my land drop. Seeing as my opponent has no removal spells in their hand currently, I think I'm okay actually firing off a Mother of Runes attack here. Maybe wrong, but it kind of feels like this may be a game where every point of damage matters. Deck has become so much more popular online. Now I have to keep in mind that my opponent can have a 1/1 attacker whenever they want, or a 1/1 blocker rather, and they can also go and get a Thassa's Oracle. My opponent has one unknown card. I would hate for it to be Daze, so I think I am just going to go ahead and Lightning Bolt myself here. Although I'm going to do this post-combat. Vigilance is quite strong here. I should have done that pre-combat for the trigger, rather than waiting to see if my opponent reacted to this creature in combat. They're not going to react to that creature in combat once I have in play, so that was just a mistake. I don't like how I played that. I already have black mana available here, and I still have Lotus Petal around, so I'm just going to get the planes that I'm more likely to want to use. Yep, fetch is fine. And this is all good. This will be the Nomads in core. And my opponent will cycle the step through. Yep. There is the Illusionist. So I guess the big thing that we're looking to dodge here is Shuko. Is the other way to just kind of infinitely target this. Okay, sure. Playing Plains over Tundra, I already know about, is I guess a choice. Unless I already played that Tundra and I just didn't mark it off. Alright, let's go to the Forge. I just want to make my Vigilant creature bigger. Alright, Chromox is, relatively speaking, a dead draw there, but boy do we have damage. And next turn, I can also sacrifice a Cleric to go get an Archon or a Griselbrand. Bam. The protection from creatures can actually be a little awkward with Mother of Runes, oddly enough. Opponent's down to 5. This will be their last turn to combo off. Alright, there is the Illusionist. They need Shuko or Stoneforge Mystic. So 5 outs plus cantrips. Okay, they didn't have it. GG's. Now I have to try to figure out how to sideboard for this again. I think I ended up 10 cards in when I was on the draw, if memory serves. I believe on the draw, I cut this package and cut Canonist, then cut Elite Spellbinder. That feels like what I did before. Let's think about it for a minute to make sure that I still like all of that. I more or less like that. I'm thinking about more surgicals, but I don't want my creature count to go too low, because like I still do need to beat the fair portions of my opponent's deck, so I think I'm going to call this good. I will be keeping this hand. This is a turn 1 Arbiter into a turn 2 Remorseful Cleric. These are very reasonable hate bearers for the matchup, and I've got enough mana that I can reasonably play any sort of like good initiative style card that I draw. Maria's Call is going under Chrome Mox as a starting point. We're going to play this prior to playing any lands to see if my opponent wants to like daze this. Alright, Amaria's Call is under this. Play Plains. I don't think I'm willing to give up any of these cards to play around Daze here. I just think these cards are generally too good to do so. So the obvious fetch in response has happened. See if my opponent finds a piece of interaction. They still could have a Source of Plowshares or a Prismatic Ending that they just use on their turn. So I can't get too excited yet. But it is possible that this card just stole a game. Okay. That's a shuffle. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Oh, it's just a Nomad Core. It's not actually a removal spell. This is fantastic for me. How do I want to play this turn? I think I want Mom and Remorseful Cleric in play this turn. So I think I hold off on Seasoned Dungeoneer. That means that I can just go ahead and take my attack now. I just want to kind of put the squeeze on my opponent's resources and make it so that they can't easily combo, because I've already shut off this Stoneforge Mystic side of their deck. And I think the Remorseful Cleric is the better card here, so I play that one first, so that it is played around Daze. And I am fine playing a Mom into Daze. Okay, game's not over, but we're probably pretty favored at this point. Saga's good. Saga's real good. Swords on the Cleric. That's scary. Is summoning sick currently, though, so that occurs. Ooh, no. So now we're going to see this combo actually play out. I'm just going to F6 so you can see it. So the way that this works is my opponent repeatedly targets the Cephalid Illusionist with Nomads in Core, and they are going to mill their entire library here. As they mill their library, they're going to come across Narcomoebas, and they can use these Narcomoebas to Cabal Therapy me, as well as Dread Return a Thassa's Oracle, which is going to be their eventual way to win. And I'm letting them mill themselves out here because I can see 99% of the cards in their deck in their post-board configuration this way. That's more important to me than hiding information that I have Seasoned Dungeoneer, which is, in my opinion, pretty obvious. Yeah, nice. They think I have Fairy as opposed to Surgical. Dread Return has hit the graveyard. Notably, we can see my opponent is also playing some bounce spells like Teferi Time Raveler and Brazen Borrower, so we'll want to keep those in mind for the next game. There's the next Narcomoeba. There's yet another Narcomoeba. The Thassa's Oracle is here. The Dread Return is here. This means that I am deterministically dead, which is a-okay with me. So we can look at some numbers real quick. 1, 2, 3 Stoneforge Mystics in this configuration, unless there's one in hand. Opponent is not playing Daze, so I don't need to play around that. Full set of Force of Wills. Alright, good to know. So the Teferi Time Ravelers make boarding in extra copies of Surgical a little worse. Elite Spellbinder is a little bit better when I'm on the play. Opponent actually doesn't have like that much real removal, but they've got a decent amount of bounce, so all my moms probably need to stay around. I could lower my curve a bit by boarding out a Seasoned Dungeoneer or two, but it's just like very good against the Stoneforge Mystic side of the deck, so I don't know that I really want to do that. 4 Source of Plowshares might be too many. I'm gonna board down 2 Seasoned Dungeoneers, I think, for just another card that interacts with my opponent's hand when I'm on the play here. Yes, this is absolutely a keep. I believe I am not imprinting anything with Chrome Mox here. I believe this is just planned Lotus Petal Cat. And we'll see if it works. It does work. That makes my opponent's life harder. They have a decent number of fetch lands. Possible I'm supposed to imprint Remorseful Cleric to also play Mother of Runes on turn 1, but I'm not, like, super comfortable doing that. Opponent's at 18. Is it Cleric or is it Mom? I can get to 3 mana 2 different ways, but not in a way that lets me cast both of those. I think that means it's just Mom here. Alright, opponent did have the swords in the opener. A protected Remorseful Cleric is really nice, though. Oh, we'll see where that goes. I am going to need a little bit of gas off the top of the deck. I've got one more play and then just mana. An opponent has a basic plains, but no removal for Mom. Elite Spellbinder is a great draw here. I think I do that over playing Cleric this turn. Either one probably stops my opponent from comboing off next turn, but it's easier to multi-spell with the Cleric. Virtue's Ruin. Well, that's a card. That's a card. That's incredibly awkward for me. If I take it, it costs 5 mana, but it just, like, hangs out there, and I'd almost rather my opponent just 2-for-1 me. Like, my opponent has all 5 lands, so, like, they do just get to play this later. Can't play that off and combo in the same turn. Alright. We'll take the Virtue's Ruin. We're not happy about it. Like, Virtue's Ruin backed by Source of Plowshares in particular is pretty rough. Ponder's fine. No shuffle, so they found something that they like. But a shuffle the second time. Alright, that is a Shuko chilling in play. Cavern is a great card in theory. That will go on Cleric. I'm in attack for 3 mode, but, like, I can't really deploy more things right now, which makes me more vulnerable to my opponent randomly drawing the combo. But I don't think I can race the Virtue's Ruin in terms of, like, life total, especially considering that my opponent has a Swords to Plowshares. Yeah. So for not playing out Remorseful Cleric here, I lose the game. But if I play it, I get roughly 2 points of damage out of it, and then I'm dead. Alright. De La Vie. Good sideboard card is good. Alright, I have kept my 7-card hand here. It is a very Cleric-centric hand. We're going to kind of be playing a fair beatdown game this plan in all likelihood, and we're going to use my opponent's first play to kind of figure out which of these things I should be doing. Plow is fine, so it seems like we are playing against an initiative deck that has game 1 Swords to Plowshares. That's a bad draw. So basically, I just want to put them in a situation where it's not super profitable for them to play out an initiative creature. So that's why I'm going to play my Evasive Flyer here over the Shadowrite Priest. Archon in particular is a bad draw because this game's likely going to go on long enough that I could do this, and Griselbrand is bounceable via Caracas. Oh, my opponent's got the red splash for Caves of Chaos Adventurer. And they are getting basic plains here. That's fine. A Lotus Petal of my own here. Always have to be attacking. Like, we have to trade the initiative back and forth, or I don't really have a reasonable path to victory. Taking a plains here. I will play out a Lotus Petal in case my opponent does have some sort of Thalia or Thalia-like effect. And I will be playing Elite Spellbinder this turn. Oh, shit, that's a good hand. That's a good hand. Wow. Caves of Chaos Adventurer and Seasoned Engineer are both humans. That's relevant. I think I just need to take the swords. I think I'm just losing here. unfortunately. So my opponent will play this a little differently than I thought they would. They're going to check and see what Caves of Chaos Adventure finds another Caves of Chaos Adventure. Yeah. I think I'm going to just let this happen rather than trade here. Makes Forge a little scarier. Oh, nope. Okay, they're not going for Forge. They're going for Scry. So my goal here is to attempt to race my opponent. All right. All kind of going as expected. Yeah, so I am hoping to floop Shadowrite Priest into play, attack for 7, and then potentially end up with lethal the following turn. That's my conceptual plan for how I'm winning this one. Also, a mid-combat Griselbrand does really weird things. Just saying. Play that tapped. Play the Priest. 7 in the air. I'll take the initiative. I will be going to Forge. I will be forging up a flyer here. I'm going to take a good amount of damage this turn. 2 Caves of Chaos Adventurer attack triggers. Anointed Peacekeeper. Second Anointed Peacekeepers? No, White Plume Adventurer. Alright. Argons are real tight here, and my opponent has a lot of agency in how they play this turn. Got 9 damage showing, and they're going for a Throne of the Dead 3 activation rather than Swords to Plowshares. Gives them a decent number of looks at a Solitude in particular. Playing Ephemerate, that's good to know. So they get to Anointed Peacekeeper, and then they get to name this. This ability costs 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unless I draw another Lotus Petal, I can't get the Griselbrand that I wanted. So now I'm hoping to draw another Shadowrite Priest to have lethal in the air. Yep. That does it too, right? Past this, pro creatures, this Cleric. Oh wow, we just stole a game here. For Seasoned Dungeoneer for exact lethal. Or I guess not exact lethal, like there's also just trap involved. Yeah, so I guess we just had lethal either way. My opponent probably needed to do a Swords to Plowshares baseline. Right. I guess they could still have a Solitude in hand. If they have a Solitude in hand, it's very relevant whether or not this gets the +1/+1 counter. Well, they do have the Solitude. Alright, so that gives me 6 life, and I win the game if I get a +1/+1 counter on this creature. That's what this is coming down to. Nice. That was tight. We needed to win game 1, because I don't think we can win a game when my opponent is on the play. I like removal spells. I like evasive creatures. Relic Order and Progenitus are playable as well. What's bad? Canonists and Arbiters are not great. Those are going to go. That gets me these 6 cards as a starting point. I'm absolutely leaving in Shadowrite Priest. Do I want Archon of Cruelty, Griselbrand, or Progenitus, and in what combination? I only want 2 of them because I don't want to draw these things. The Shadowrite Priest, making it so that I can get a mid-combat Griselbrand, is savage. The same is true of Archon of Cruelty, though. Archon of Cruelty is better against Seasoned Dungeoneer. Griselbrand is better versus most of the other creatures. Although a Forged Caves of Chaos Adventurer is 7 power, is rough. Probably means I remove Griselbrand for Progenitus. So then I have one that can give me a little bit of life gain and removal, and one that can just like wall everything and crash in for a lot of damage. And the next question is like, do I want Relic Order to attack my opponent's mana? Like, is that better than Anointed Peacekeeper, which is probably my next worst card? Probably. Comes down a turn earlier, despite the fact that like the Vigilant Body is nice. I think just having something that can take out a Chrome Mox and slow my opponent down is very relevant. I don't think I like this hand. I'm 1 mana away, I think, from this being keepable. I'm gonna think about it for a second, though. So I can imprint Anointed Peacekeeper, play Amaria's Call, play one of these 2 cards on turn 1, or this, and then be 1 land away from this. Maybe this isn't as bad as I think. I don't know. I think my opponent's deck is just going to be an order of magnitude more aggressive than mine, though. I think I'm on the back foot here. Oh, Cavern's not bad. Cavern's not bad at all. So this goes on Cleric. Feel good about that. Chrome Mox occurs. I still think I need to keep this land. So I think Anointed Peacekeeper is probably my worst thing here, but it's very close. Like, having an evasive creature in hand does 100% matter. Alright. Cleric. I got a Lotus Petal. Yes, I will opt to use that ability. Now, my opponent can just have a Swords of Plowshares here and undo what I did, but you gotta try. So, now, oh, wow. No immediate initiative card from my opponent here. Means I get first crack at this. Very good for me. Pick up a basic planes and call it a turn. Opponent didn't have another removal spell here. We're okay versus like a single 4-mana initiative card here. Like, my opponent can do this. All Sorts of Plowshares their creature. I'll take the initiative back. I'll drop another creature. I will absolutely be ahead on board here. Relic Warder is interesting. And take out their Lotus Petal again. I think Swords and Relic Warder is better than Swords and Remorseful Cleric. I need to do this in a very specific way, though. I need to play around Ephemerate. That means casting the Relic Warder first. So this will take them off their Ephemerate. Target the Petal. Yes, okay, they didn't have Ephemerate. Could still have Solitude. That's still a thing that exists. Attempt to Swords this. See if I can take the initiative back. Come on, little buddy. Oh, I do. Fantastic. Forge. Increase the power of this creature. Second main. I'm going to drop a tapped land here. Call it a turn. We're in an okay situation. We don't want to see my opponent make a land drop into another initiative creature. They didn't have time to play out Remorseful Cleric to just like easily keep taking it back every turn. This is what we were hoping to avoid. Okay, it's not technically an initiative creature, but it's still very good for my opponent. I lose my white plume here, and my opponent gets an extra card at end of turn. I will trap my opponent, bring them to 13. Elite Spellbinder. I'm going to be playing both of these creatures this turn. I'm also going to be attacking to take the Monarch, or at least attempt to. I think I do this pre-combat and just get a look at what my opponent is working with, just to really make sure nothing weird is about to happen. I'm somewhat surprised my opponent didn't opt for Solituding in response. Just hold the Monarch. Guaranteed hold the Monarch, I guess I should say. Alright, let's send Solitude to exile. Attempt to become the Monarch here, see if my opponent wants to trade. A-okay with me. They can have their Lotus Petal back. And I will play something that will let me better take back the initiative, even playing around Solitude. My opponent can do the full 7-mana Solitude. It is, like, reasonable. Right, there's Plains. There's White Plume. My opponent's going for Forge or Lost Well. They're going Lost Well. It's my plan to attempt to kill my opponent over the course of 2 turns. See how this goes. Oh, that's a very good draw. It still looks like I'm taking back the Monarchy here, unless my opponent has yet another card. I just attack and do this post-combat. This takes the Monarchy and the initiative. Brings me to Archives to draw a card. And now that I am the Monarch, I get my White Plume Adventurer back that was previously exiled, which means that I go to Throne of the Dead 3. Okay, there's no possible way that I can lose once I put a Progenitus into play. I also probably can't lose if I put an Archon of Cruelty into play. I think the Archon, just taking out my opponent's currently on-board creature, is better. What can possibly beat me here? I don't really know. Like the Progenitus, it's cooler. Oh, right, I can't use that for Cleric. Play a Seasoned Dungeoneer. Grab another Plains from the deck. Make that as my land drop for turn. Draw a card at my end step. Yeah, Once Upon a Time is totally fine. I get another White Plume Adventurer. Not dying from 25 here. And I have a Very, very, very lethal Progenitus next turn. That's what I thought. What a Twitter screenshot. Okay, final round here. I only have 2 mana in this starting hand, and with one of those being Lotus Petal, I'm not on board with this hand. Whereas this hand is very good, I just have to decide how to play it. Kind of want to Leonin Arbiter on turn 1, Anointed Peacekeeper on turn 2. If I get rid of Lotus Petal, I can go Karakas, Chromox, Shadowrite Priest, Arbiter into Ancient Tomb, Peacekeeper turn 2. That seems fine. The other way I can do it is Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, Peacekeeper on turn 1 into Arbiter on turn 2. But I think I value the persistent mana here more. The Arbiter is an incredibly high variance play, but it just instantly wins the game some portion of the time. Like, the earlier you play the Arbiter, the better it is. Opponent unfortunately did have... Ooh. Alright, well, our cards are on the table. My opponent's probably on a combo deck, probably Doomsday, or a Storm deck of some kind. I'm going to show them the land that they already know about, and crash in for 2. The Arbiter is likely very good, and as time goes on, we'll see exactly how good it is. I will need a follow-up threat to speed up my clock. Yuck. This is what we didn't want to see after leading on an Arbiter like we did. But you do what you can. We're a little less certain about what exact deck my opponent is playing right now. It could be an Esper Cephalid Breakfast build. It could be a Stoneblade deck. It could still be an Esper Doomsday deck. Time will tell. Yeah, see, the problem is if they had 2 of these initial lands, now they can just pay to fetch with this one. Which, while the tax is still totally awesome, it's a little less exciting than I otherwise might like. My read on the current situation is my opponent does not have a removal spell. If they had a removal spell, they fire it off while Mom is summoning sick. So I believe that I do attack in with Mother of Runes. I will get punished by a Snapcaster Mage in particular. But if I am playing against an Esper Doomsday list, every single point of damage is relevant. That's not how that card works. So the way Leonin Arbiter actually works is you need to pay for the cost prior to the fetch land ability resolving. And now you know. Yeah, it gets everyone. That may or may not end up costing my opponent this game. Oh yeah, that's a big deal here. My draws are not great. Get in there, little buddy. Opponent's down to 7. I will hold Lotus Petal in my hand. Okay, so now they are ignoring this, and you can see the blue text on this card indicating that they've gotten their next land drop. They still don't have black, black, black for Doomsday. They can technically get it now. Swords on Mom is fine. Oh, this is very good. Go ahead and take our attack first. Hey, there's Snapcaster Mage that I talked about. Targeting a Swords to Plowshares. I'm oddly punished for not playing this pre-combat, I guess. So this is castable until end of turn, and my opponent can fetch now that the Arbiter is out of play. So if I want to just put Anointed Peacekeeper into play, I have to name Swords to Plowshares instead of Doomsday. I think I do just do that, because my opponent has to play Doomsday and win on the same turn if they pass the turn. Like, they have their life total to 3, and then this is lethal. And this is an as, not a when, which very much matters this turn. As effects cannot be responded to in the same way that a trigger can. Malakar Rebirth. Okay. I will be naming Swords to Plowshares here. So Malakar Rebirth tells me that that my opponent is running Chromox. But this is actually a pretty good situation for me. Yep. My opponent goes to 2 here. They get to take my Lotus Petal that I tactically held in hand. And my opponent can play 3 mana for a Swords to Plowshares, which is fine. We're looking to top deck basically any creature here, any threat. Does that count? With values X or less? X is 3. Yeah. Past this. Use 2 creatures. We actually have the black, black, black for this. And we know my opponent's last 2 cards. Alright, cool, cool. I don't really know what to name here. I beat Doomsday handily. Supreme Verdict, maybe? It takes a lot to beat me from this board. I guess I could name like another Snapcaster Mage. Clerics is good. Okay. That seems wrong. It seems like they're supposed to hold that for the Strix here. I think I just traded with the Strix. Yep, that's fine. So this puts my opponent to 1. And I've got Cavern for whatever creature I play next. I have lethal on board. The taxation effect here isn't really strong anymore. Doomsday is not a card anymore. Assuming my opponent is Doomsday. I haven't seen anything that confirms that. They could legit be an Esper value deck, like an Esper control deck. Cavern is not what I'm looking to see here. I have 1 Cavern for Cleric and 1 Cavern for Human, so I'm still good. Fetches are off. Pitch Cast Force of Will is off. My opponent is on Doomsday, that is off. Grief is fine. Yeah, my opponent, like, legit might just be on, like, Ephemerate Elementals. Okay. I guess the attack's reasonable. I'd be a little scared to attack if I were the opponent, though. Blooding out something horrible here. Guess I hold this one. Attack's not good. I've drawn so much land this game. Counting, like, I guess I should, yeah. Okay, it is Ephemerate Elementals. So counting this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana sources to the ratio of 3 actual spells. That's very brutal. Okay, Grief is coming in. I'll take some damage. There's another Grief. This is fine. This is why we're holding land cards in my hand. Although my opponent would honestly just play it out at this point as another card that physically can attack. This is in theory lethal. That sucks. Yep. It's a shame because that would have been lethal. At this point, I guess I will put this in play on Human now that they know about it. I need 1 point of damage. My opponent gets another card off Strix and Ephemerate. I will take 6 from this attack. Going to 12. I don't actually have a lot of time here to draw towards outs. Okay. We've got White Plume as well, which is not surprising. I don't know if they'll also have Seasoned Dungeoneer, but like White Plume makes sense. I think that means I'm either literally or effectively dead if I miss on my draw step here. That counts as a miss. Like, I'll play it out, but I think that's the end for me. Right, so 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 after 2 Forge counters. And 11, 12, but I'll be able to block White Plume. Yep, Forging a Grief, where I thought we were going. The opponent might not be able to safely alpha with everything, though. They might just swing in with the 2 Griefs and kill me next turn. Or even swing in with 1 Grief and kill me next turn. If my opponent doesn't have a removal spell, they might have just killed themselves with this attack, because I can double block White Plume, and then they don't get to untap a creature. I still have a lethal threat in play. I think I've got to go for that line. I will just lose to my opponent playing another initiative creature and being able to trap me, but this at least gives me a shot in case my opponent didn't think this through. If they have another removal spell, I'm never beating them anyway. Alright, I'm at 3. Yeah, that's fine. So I die to trap here. That's a frustrating loss, because my deck just bottomed out. Needed 2 more turns to get to another Seasoned Dungeoneer for the win. So, I like swords. I'm probably supposed to play Progenitus over one of these other creatures. Griselbrand isn't particularly great versus things like Baleful Strix in particular. Canonist isn't exactly amazing. It can be good versus some things like Snapcaster Mage, but this is like... I think Canonist and Spellbinders are probably on the chopping block here. Not like Remorseful Cleric is particularly great either. A lot of things are just going to line up very poorly versus Baleful Strix for me here. Actually, a huge portion of my creatures line up poorly versus Baleful Strix. Need the swords. I might even need Leonin Arbiter, as weird as that sounds, just to have 2 more cards that answer Strix, because, like, Strix is a problem for my aggressive elements. Yeah, I think that's accurate, actually. That's weird. I'm going down on these. I think I go down on Remorseful Cleric for that. I'm just trying to go down on things that are super, super yuck impacted. Alright, how bad is this really? 3 damage to myself. Probably imprint Mother of Runes, play turn 1 cat. If I draw any mana source, I have cat into Anointed Peacekeeper. Alright, this is a 7. So it's actually Chromox, imprint Archon. Dock with this. Arbiter. Turn 2. Ooh. Like, hopefully this, otherwise this, holding up this. This is risky. But it's maybe actually fine. Again, we got some high variance here with regards to how good Leonin Arbiter actually is going to be. So, bolt myself, and attempt to kind of get a freebie here. My opponent does have, like, Solitudes that can get around this. Ooh. Good news for Phil fans. I'll crash in with this, and I believe I'm supposed to play Anointed Peacekeeper this turn to kind of keep my pressure up, rather than, like, use my mana super inefficiently to do stuff with Mom. I can't actually multi-spell right now with Black under Chromux. Ooh. This seems like I just named Flooded Strand, and my opponent never ever is going to play Magic this game. And then that way, even if they spike a removal spell, I still just have these shut off. There's a Lava Axe worth of damage every turn cycle. I think we're done here. Yeah. Cool. Battle. Brings my opponent to 13. Alright, I need to tap that differently. It's Ancient Tomb here. Okay, that one got Force of Willed, pitching a Drown in the lock, so those cards are gone. Yeah, this is the ceiling for Leonin Arbiter here. Nice. On the draw's harder, because my opponent can do really cool Ephemerate things on turn 1. Just like pitch, cost, grief, take a card, Ephemerate, take another card. And some things like Arbiter are significantly worse on the draw. I could play a couple more flyers on the draw to take back the initiative against early White Plume. Like, I could ignore Arbiter on the draw so that I don't trip into falling over my own Shadowrite Priest. My opponent's deck gets so much better as they have more land drops that I might still need to play Arbiter. I could not play Anointed Peacekeeper on the draw, despite the fact that it is a very good card here. My opponent says that was one mighty Cleric denial stompy. Yeah, I think on the... Everything's bad versus Baleful Strix. Kind of the way it goes, and why I'm bringing in these. But I think on the draw, I'm just going to lower my curve a little bit. This is an absolutely unplayable hand. Just too much mana with nothing to reasonably ramp into. So this is a mulligan. Progenitus has come to hand. Assuming I throw Progenitus back, is this a keepable hand? Not really. I just don't think this is objectively powerful enough to win. It's just so incredibly fair. I'm going to go to 5, which will make me worse against Grief. This is easily the best hand so far. I think these 2 cards go back. Grief, Ephemerate, Grief basically ends me on the spot. But that didn't happen. So, is the Lotus Petal used for Leonin Arbiter on this turn, or for White Plume Adventurer next turn? I think the answer is White Plume Adventurer next turn. I think I use this turn cycle to make Mother of Runes a bait spell. Like, if Mom makes it back around the table, that's awesome. If my opponent, like, Swords to Plowshares it, that's fine too. Because of Grief specifically, I'm playing out the Lotus Petal, whereas in a lot of other white matchups, I would hold it in hand because of Prismatic Ending. One other thing that we haven't seen yet that my opponent could have is Brought Back. There's a white for something that lets you return 2 cards from your graveyard to play that were put there in this turn cycle. Or something with approximately that text. Alright. I'm not optimistic about my chances of winning here. I don't know why my opponent kept their 7 yet. Like, end of turn 1 brainstorm doesn't exactly inspire confidence, you know? We'll see. A pro-white creature. That's definitely annoying, and that's a reason to keep a hand. Oh, thank you. That makes my White Plume Adventurer uncounterable. And now the real game begins. So my opponent has a pro-white creature, meaning that they can attack in and take the initiative. But I also have a way to get through that if they use that as a blocker. So things are likely to get pretty interesting. And this sort of situation here is what I'm talking about with, like, the sooner you play Leonin Arbiter, the better it is. Like, at this point, Leonin Arbiter is a 2/2 creature that can attack and take the initiative back. Let's see how my opponent plays this out. Brief pitching a Malakir Rebirth probably means that my opponent has, like, an Ephemerate here. Don't get that much value out of an Ephemerate. You get these sweet +1/+1 counters. Okay. Maybe they just didn't have more black cards, or their other black cards are more valuable. Alright, something else is happening, which I don't like. F. Alright. I don't really need to respond to this in any capacity, because if I do and my opponent has, like, a Solitude type card, they just, like, use it in response here. So, like, that occurs. I lose the initiative, and my opponent can hold it next turn, which is definitely a problem. My opponent had 2 very strong sideboard cards here. Game has tilted strongly in their favor. Not over, but I expect to lose from here. Especially with a draw like that. I will be attacking in. My opponent will chump block, which is going to trigger Haunt. It is very relevant. So they're going to haunt my White Plume, and if it dies, they get to use the ability again. I guess for other reasons, it's a good idea that I have boarded out some number of X1 creatures. So many more people than I think should go down the right side of the dungeon. Like, I think if my opponent just has another creature that they can play, like, just suit up, Rock can probably kill me in 3 turns. I don't know my opponent's cards, so, like, I don't have context for their hand. It may be very important for them to dig towards something in particular, but... Oh, yeah, fuck yeah. If you have... Well, okay, I don't know whether or not they had that. But if they already had that in hand, like, go down Forge and get me dead. I don't have enough black mana to do this yet. I believe at this point this game is probably over. But I've been saying that for a couple turns, so... we shall see. Got a treasure. Sure. Yeah. So 3 damage a turn is not that big of a deal. Like, it, like, couldn't even be a black land so that I could get 2 creatures from my graveyard. That's cruel. So I'm gonna take 4 damage here. And that's 7. And then next turn is my last turn to draw a live card. I'm gonna go ahead and concede here. Like, I can technically stay alive for 1 more turn, but it doesn't really get me anywhere. I am comfortable with throwing in the towel. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this league with a 3-2 finish. I'm very happy to finish positively with this deck. And honestly, overall thoughts on the deck list, because if I don't say that, someone in the comments yells at me. Good. Like, this was a very fun deck list to play. This is a pretty high power brew. And not just due to the fact that it has 8 initiative creatures in it. Like, that certainly helps. But the fact that, like, I want to be playing Cavern of Souls for this in the first place, and it also makes all my other stuff uncounterable, while Seasoned Dungeoneer gives, like, much better attack options for basically all of the creatures in my deck. Like, that is strong, and I'm, like, very happy with that here. Shadowrite Priest did things in 1 or 2 games. I did fish out a Progenitus with that. Like, that was cool. At the end of the day, is this better than playing a mono-white initiative deck? The answer is 100% no, it probably isn't. But this was a really neat brew. And, like, this is what I think of as, like, the perfect Friday night Magic deck. Like, Brewing up Clerics and slapping around people with it seems pretty good, and I love that we got to showcase a really neat and interesting card that I thought we would never actually get a chance to play in Legacy. In terms of changes to the deck list, I don't know that I need to make any major changes. I flooded out a little bit in the leagues, although in theory, like, we have some things that we can sink that mana into, but I might be thinking about maybe one or two of, what is it? Is it Secluded Courtyard? Is that the white-black, like, Horizon Canopy cycle land that you can sacrifice it to draw a card? I might want to play one or two of those. It didn't come up much in this league, but Leonin Arbiter technically has negative synergy with Shadowrite Priest. I think that's one of those things that you just like accept and go with it. But yeah, overall, like, this one gets a thumbs up for me. I really enjoyed playing it. If you enjoyed watching it, please give me a like or a comment. It really supports the content, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.